125 years to me means a family business, if run with integrity and concern for the customers, can last that long. It's a real testament to the family. My father-in-law asked me to join the company, which I thought was a very nice thing to offer. Kind of sat me down and said, you know, I have something to ask you. And it was almost as bad as asking for her hand. Of course, I accepted. And when I started, I knew nothing about the food business, nothing about Italian foods. So I had to kind of learn from the ground up.
Vincent Formusa was my grandfather. He came over to America from Termini Ammasi, Italy. And when he came over here, he saw that there was a need for some Italian products, and he had some connections in Italy to get the products over here. Actually, even previous to that, he was in the jewelry business. So I believe for a short time he was doing both things, but pretty much just concentrated on the food business. And we used to be, you know, real big in oil, in Italian olive oil, and it was Formusa brand. That was around for many, many years.
This is a picture, and there's actually like notes written on here of what was, I think, a family reunion. So my great-grandfather is here in the picture. I mean, if you look close, you can see guys on horses, and it's just everyone kind of hanging around. And I love the old pictures where, I don't know why smiling wasn't a thing back then, but people didn't smile, but you know, it's still really neat. So probably the coolest things on this wall are these two diplomas, which are the two different certifications of knighthood that my great-grandfather Vincent and grandfather Peter got from the Italian government. They were two technically different things. When my grandfather Pete got it, it was in 1951, right after World War II ended, when Italy's reputation was not the best. So they had an outreach program where they were awarding titles to Italian expats who were helping promote Italian values and culture in other countries, especially America. So my grandfather was awarded that title. They call it a Cavaliere. And my great-grandfather got the same title, which was basically for the same thing, but it was in 1934.
We had been on Grand Avenue in Chicago for, oh my God, how many years? So many years we've been down there. We just recently moved out to Des Plaines. We needed to have a bigger facility.
Yeah, so before any of this was here, we had 5 smaller buildings. This whole condo complex is on what was 5 lots. So the front entrance was about here where this door was. This location, my great-grandfather Vincent bought this property in 1898. So we were here from 1898 for 110 years, so till 2008. I haven't stood in this spot in several years. And the building is totally new, but other than that, not a whole lot has changed. Everything on that side of the street has been like that for at least 30 years, longer than I've been around.
It was an emotional journey leaving Grand Avenue. Grand Avenue had been our home for 115 years. So, you know, we had celebrated the 100-year anniversary there. We had built this business really from the ground up. All the memories were there, all the artifacts, all the pictures. We had a lot of fun going through though. I remember the last day, my iPhone 4 or whatever it was back then, and just like walking around filming all the different compartments of Grand Avenue, because like I said, it wasn't a big, beautiful one-story warehouse. It was dark and small, and just going through and pulling out anything that we could find. It was emotional. It was really emotional.
I love this piece that my wife, Regina, put together when we moved out of our Grand Avenue facility. It's just a picture of my great-grandfather, Vincent, in the old storefront with a shot of the exterior in one of the bricks, one of the original bricks that we saved all these years, just to kind of remind us of our roots and where we started from. When we moved off of Grand Avenue, I think my dad had a tricky time with it. He loved the city. He loved, his favorite thing to do would be to, take a walk in the afternoon to go find a restaurant for a bite to eat and walk around the city. And even though it was a move that was a long time coming, it was definitely, a challenge for my dad, emotionally.
I'm happy with the new things, everything that's happening now.
We haven't changed that much. We have a new facility, which is fantastic. The equipment's changed. We've become more advanced, more automated. But we still have people that have been here 20 years, 10 years, and nobody leaves because it is that family environment. I'm part of the family. I'm the redheaded stepchild.
This is where all the real magic happens. It's really nothing fancy. We have a loading dock, staging area over here. We get all of our ingredients in barrels, already cut and cured from all over North America. The far side of the building is all of our inventory stock, and as we come over here, we got our production going on.
My father-in-law got the giardiniera vegetables from Italy in the 70s and before. Since I started in the 70s, that's what I remember. And blended it with the peppers and then packed it in oil. This is what made it different from all other giardiniera around the country. California, New York, they all packed giardiniera in vinegar. And in Chicago, we started packing it in oil to cut that vinegar taste a little bit, and it gave it much better flavor.
The oil, I remember the oil and the vinegar for sure unloaded, and I loved the way they were delivering it. And I remember even the smell of the truck. When we'd open up the truck, you would smell the vinegar, and I can still smell it now, and this is 40 years later. I was 13 years old when I started working at the store, and so I really appreciated those smaller pallets, as you can imagine. I was a lot smaller at that time.
Italian culture is such a huge part of Chicago. I think most big cities, right? But Chicago especially. So many people came over here from Italy and they never left, and they built their families here, and with family comes food, right? So we're so lucky that our great-grandfather picked Chicago and set this, I guess, the basis for this whole company. He came over and down on Grand Avenue where we have all those memories, and the food scene is huge here, and we're so blessed to be a part of it. Both white tablecloth, but also fast food. Our stuff is at most fast food places, and so I always tell people when they say, where can you find it? I say, anywhere where they serve beef or hot dogs or pizza or pasta, it's likely there. So if it's not, ask for it, but it's likely there.
For us, right, Italian beef, Italian sausage is a big part of what Portillo's does. We were founded on hot dogs, but soon after added Italian beef, and which we make ourselves, and Italian sausage. And it was natural to actually include a giardiniera. We did test a lot of different hot giardinieras. We landed on Marconi, and we've been with Marconi ever since.
We're in Chicago. We're doing these chicken sandwiches. Our style of chicken is Nashville hot chicken. So we thought, we're in Chicago. We're not in Nashville. And there is no single ingredient more iconic to Chicago than giardiniera. And so we thought, hey, we gotta do a Chicago hot chicken. And what would go on it? Nothing but some sweet Marconi giardiniera.
Italian beef was really a Chicago product. People in other cities, they have no idea what Italian beef is. That was born in Chicago, and I believe that The reason it took off the way it did is because of giardiniera to go on the sandwich itself.
Well, Marconi has been a part of the food scene obviously for 125 years, but it brings a level of culture and heritage to the food scene in Chicago. Well, you can't last 125 years without not only being obviously a fabulous product, but also taking care of people, being in the community. I mean, 4 generations, hands-on, that doesn't happen very, very often. And that's something to be proud of. You know, when you have a family lineage that takes pride and passion in their product like that, puts their name on a jar, and is not afraid to stand behind it, that means it's something. It really is something.
I think the one thing, Marconi's really established themselves in the Chicago food scene. Well, you talk 125 years, but you also talk about the fact that they've been around for 125 years. When you hear, you know, this clock place has been around for 80 years, when you've heard this place has been here for 50 years, when you hear a company like Marconi has been around for 125 years, that's the selling point. You're not around for 125 minutes if you don't have a good product, period.
Their product is phenomenal. I mean, everything is good. All the giardiniera, olives, it's the best we have here. I don't mind telling people this is what you want.
That's the best of the best. We steer them one way, and it's straight to Marconi.
I have relationships with people that go back 21 years that I've called on, and they've watched me have babies, they've watched me get married. I remember one of my customers, he would always want to set me up because I was single for the first, I don't know, 7 years when I worked here. And so you just build relationships with people, and people were invited to my wedding, and it really makes this career pretty awesome because you're touching so many people's lives. I know people's stories. I've gone through deaths with people. I've been to customers' wakes, and you know, you're in each other's lives. You see them every 2 weeks. You know, you say goodbye. I'll see you in 2 weeks for your next order, and you really get to know them as people and not just as giardiniera users that love your stuff.
I love mostly Joey, but they're all great. When I call,
Joey is number one.
Yeah.
She's just extremely special in terms of how she doesn't need to be here. We're a small Italian grocery store, and she goes out of her way to come here and take care of my father and my Uncle Dominic. Like it's hard to even express the words. That's how amazing she is.
Emotionally for us, when she said she wanted to come to work for the company, we always kind of wanted the kids, at least some of the kids, all of the kids in the business.
Looking back at it now, I know he was like doing jumping jacks inside because he never put that kind of pressure on us, and I'm sure they thought it, right? How do you not think? I think about my little people coming into this business, so I don't know how they didn't think it, but they never, ever expressed it to us or made us feel like it was a life path. It was like, go to college, figure it out. It was not even on the table.
My wife especially wanted to see the legacy go on. Since she's third generation, and you know, she said, you know, this business has to keep going. You know, it's just been around too long to just let it die with us. You know, let's get the kids involved.
I was very excited when my brother I can't remember if he was unhappy at his first job or I think he was starting to get tired of the schedule. I think he was working a lot of nights, and the company was growing at that point. I had been around for about 5 years, and I knew there's 4 siblings. I have 2 sisters and a brother, and I knew that somebody was bound to come and join me on this journey. And so I just remember sitting down and saying, I know this is something we probably never thought we would do as kids, but it's pretty awesome, and why are we going to work for somebody else and make somebody else money when we can do this together? So why don't you think about joining us, and I'll be happy to show you the ropes and teach you everything I know.
You know, in college, I was studying nutrition and hospitality, And in the back of my mind, there was always sort of the option of working for the family business. I wouldn't call it a fallback option, but I knew it was always there, but I also knew that I wanted to do my own thing for a while too. So I had gotten into hotel management in the food and beverage industry, and that was a job that I loved. I always had a passion for hospitality, and I've always had a passion for cooking and food. So I loved doing that, but that was a really crazy lifestyle. And I did it for a few years, and I started to get a little bit burned out quickly. So at that time, there was an opening, an opportunity at Vincent Formusa presented itself, and my dad thought it would be a good time to reach out and see if I wanted to come in and come settle down in the family company. So he may have caught me at a moment of frustration with my current job that he was able to suck me in, but he did indeed suck me in, and I haven't really looked back since. So I'm here now.
In family businesses, you always push to be as good or better than who you are, right? And in growth and in evolution, you never lose who you are. So I think that's a challenge, because it's, when you get into a couple of, you get from a founder to that first, second, or third generation, that work ethics change and things like that, but the business philosophy has to stay solid and in place. And I imagine that you guys have done a great job, otherwise you wouldn't be around for 125 years.
First of all, auguri, congratulations, but also keep it going, because again, there's not a lot these days that keeps our heritage and our culture alive.
That 125 years is mind-boggling when you think of a food place. I mean, I owned my hot dog stand 16 years. I go, wow, man, come on. Then you hear about Marconi, they got 125 years. Just consistency, solid, great people.
What does it mean? It means I must love what I do. And what we've done for 125 years. We see customers over and over again. We keep supplying them with the merchandise that they buy from us. It's a consumable product, obviously, food. And that, again, builds relationships, and made tons of friends over the years with all these people that we call on as customers.
Dad is the smartest man that I know, and he's done everything for us. Not only my brother and I, but for our siblings, his grandbabies. Everything he does is for his family. And it is an example that, my God, I hope I can emulate, because that man has worked his butt off for the last 50 years.
I remember specifically, I had one customer did not speak a word of English. And my father-in-law gave this customer to me. We had another salesman, who did speak Italian, but this particular customer he gave to me. And I used to go in there every 2 weeks, and I'd have to just kind of rattle off words that I knew, pasta, olio, for oil.
Because Bob really did have to learn everything from scratch. And I know it sounds like I'm bragging, but he really did a very good job. The customers loved him. He took to it. He learned about the products, and it's a lot of things you don't know. When you grow up in an Italian household, there's a lot of things that go into making food and cooking and products that a lot of people are not aware of.
But he knew he could do it. He knew he could. He saw such potential in this place, and he raised 4 awesome kids and really taught us the value of working and working hard and having pride in your work. I think that is something I'm really trying to instill in my own kids. Have a purpose,
Especially as I get older, I start to really appreciate how nice it is to have my parents so close, and being able to see them every day. That's definitely the best part of working with my parents. And it helps a lot that they were so great as parents and bosses in the beginning anyway, but having the privilege of seeing them all these years on such a frequent basis is something that is not lost on me. I would say, if one word to describe Marconi, family would be a good one.
Consistent,
family,
Longevity.
Tradition.
Marconi's so good, you could even put it on your shoes.
Forget about it.
Pride.
This has to be family.
I guess pride is the best way to put it. I'll agree with Sue here. Keep up what we've tried to build, what my wife and I have tried to build, what her father and grandfather have built over the last 125 years. Keep it going, you know, and make it better.